All right, so the double, triple, quadruple up effect. And the reason why I gave it this name is because you have no idea how many times I've been asked this question. And it goes like this. Basically, Blake, this thing tends to happen where I sit down at the table and, I turn 200 into 800 and I lose it all. Or what am I doing wrong? I always seem to do really good in the first hour, and then all of a sudden, an hour into it, I lose it all. So it's this effect where you double up, triple up, quadruple up really quickly, and then all of a sudden you give it all away, and it's something that's happening over and over and over again. So there are three main things to look at when you're dealing with this double, triple, quadruple up effect. And first, you need to establish that it's really actually happening. Second, you need to understand how it's affecting your game or how your play is changing. And finally, you need to uncover why. So let's take a look at this. Is this effect actually happening, or is there this confirmation bias that's strengthened by emotion? See, there's something memorable about taking a stack of 200 to 1,000 and then down to 0 in a matter of hours. It's this rise and fall of emotions that tends to be remembered more than I sat down with 200 and left with 240. Whenever a player asks me this question, the first thing I want to understand is it actually happening? And the only way, in my opinion, of actually doing this is to keep records of your sessions. You have to kind of record, how much you bought in for, how much you left, and then make some sort of notation or mark saying that this pattern happened. Now, if this actually does happen and it's something that exists in your game, it's time to notice how your game can change when you double or triple up. You're dealing with two things here: the range of hands you play and how you play them. Usually players will open their range, they will, play more hands after double or tripling up, and they'll also either, call too much or raise too much. So you might start to play more small pairs and suited connectors, or you might start playing out of position more than you usually do. Basically, your play changes, and it's important to understand how so you can start to become more aware of it. Now, here's what's so cool about human behavior. Even if you found out exactly what you were doing, you probably wouldn't be able to stop it. That's because this problem doesn't stem from a lack of knowledge. The why or reason you are doing this has to deal with your relationship with money at the poker table. There are so many ways the emotions and thoughts connected to money can cause this. I'll give you two examples. First, it's what I call the dip chase effect. This is basically when you double or triple up. Then shortly after, you lose a big pot that, puts a dent into that stack. Because you already experienced the emotion and excitement of walking away with, $800 instead of 500, you start to chase the feeling of 800. So you make all the mistakes that we previously mentioned. Second example is sometimes the buy-in means too much financially. So let's say you make 500 a week and you sit down, play 1-2 and buy in for 200. You have this mentality where while losing the money won't break you, it doesn't feel good by any means to lose it. So you have, read your books, and you've done all your homework, and you know the best thing to do is just play ABC type poker. And you do that. Aces over queens, you flop a set, and all of a sudden you're, looking around 650 in chips. You were tight before because that 200 meant something to you, but now you have 650 and you say to yourself, I have some wiggle room. So you start to do dumb things. You call too wide, you raise too often, and while that 200 meant something to you once, you start to turn that money into more money you don't perceive as valuable as your initial 200. So you start to widen up and make more mistakes. See, the core of these problems are, it's that you're not viewing poker as a long-term game. You're taking it session by session and you're trying too hard to maximize that specific session, which is leading to mistakes. You cannot go into this game with this, this session is going to change my week mentality. If you do, poker is going to be very, very disappointing. You need to banish those thoughts. Oh my God, I just tripled up. I can pay for my hotel flight to Vegas. Or if I just double this stack up, I can move up to 2-5 sort of thoughts. You want to get rid of those. Just focus on the decisions you make at the table and forget about the outcomes. When I first started playing higher stakes, I read something that Doyle Brunson wrote that really changed my game, essentially. He said something along the lines of, I don't play poker for money, I play for chips. The game is about the accumulation of chips, not dollars. If you think of it as collecting as money, it can really disturb your play. All of a sudden at the table, you're like, all right, my month's rent is in the pot. You don't want to do that. You don't want to have that effect in your game. And the best way to do that is to separate the money from actual chips. Something Doyle said, extremely, extremely helpful. Now, if this effect is happening to you and this is something that you're going through, there are a ton of foundational reasons on why, right? The why could be different for all of you, but it's going to relate around how you relate to money. So please leave a comment below and try and describe what the source of the problem is. As you read the comments below me, you'll start to say, oh, I do that as well. And we can create this sort of collection of thought patterns around this issue. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you enter your email at www.schoolofcards.com/sign up for some exclusive content, some live webinars, and some things I don't do on the YouTube.
Who's Doyle?
Really, Eddie? Really? Who's Doyle? How long have you been working here? And how do you not know who Doyle Brunson is? He's like the godfather of poker. I have to show you a picture. He like literally like Super System, like one of the first books, like been playing poker forever. Who's Doyle?
You have a picture of him over your toilet or something?
It's just like somebody that you should know if you've been involved in poker for so long. Oh God, help me. All right. That was good. Did you do that on purpose? Do you know who Doyle Brunson is?
Nope.